Good morning. Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing okay. Doing okay. A few more sips of coffee. I'll be
Yeah,
up to speed.
there we go. Well,
Yeah.
I gotta say, last night was opening night, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were fantastic. You really were. Now, I came to the show last night, and I've never read this novel, so I didn't actually know what the story was. So I was getting some tidbits, but it's such a provocative story. Just tell us a bit about, this play and how you guys have really brought this story to life, this novel to life.
Yes. Well, Harper Lee wrote the book first, and then there was a very popular film starring Gregory Peck, uh, and uh, and actually Mary Badham, who played Scout in the film, Gregory Peck's daughter, is a part of this touring production with us. She is now playing the hateful neighbor, Mrs. DuBose. Um, but to Killing Mockingbird, and we love when there are people like yourself who are newbies, to the story, people that haven't read the book or seen the film and are truly, experiencing this for the first time. That's exciting to us because we still need this story, Trae. We still need this message. We still need progress. Still need healing, you know, um, all those things to continue to move forward. Okay. So, uh, for those who don't know the story, To Kill a Mockingbird, um, it's essentially a coming of age story for these kids, learning really about the makings of their community and 1934 Alabama. So that's time of Jim Crow, and and they're learning about racism and injustice right there in their backyard, in their community, and um, and all of those things have definitely been heightened, the last 3 years,
Yeah.
and uh, so it's we're out here fighting the good fight, and uh, hopefully getting through to a lot of people, hopefully offering some healing to a lot of people and provoking thought and conversation for a lot of people, to take a step back and think about, okay, hey, what have I done in my life? You know, my actions to try to make things better.
Yeah.
What can I uh, do moving forward to make things better? Because it's really, the root of it is really basic. All we need to, if we can just have some common respect and understanding of one another, if we can just start there, you know, we can make a lot of mileage going forward. We really
Well,
can.
I mean, this is what I was thinking too. Honestly, it
You know what?
was so much of it for me was understanding. Whoa, this was written in 1960, and it became such a instant classic, basically. Right? It's
Yeah.
read in schools all across America,
Hmm.
and in my mind, I thought, okay, how has this been able to impact how people experience the real world, right? Because we're talking about racism, we're talking about like fighting against that racism and
Hmm.
wanting to see kind of the humanality, like the humanistic versions of all of us
Yeah.
in in, everyday people. But there's so many things that kind of took place throughout the play for me that were like, okay, and I could hear the audience respond to some of the lines in the play that were like you, and some of them, many of them coming from your character, honestly, to get people to understand, whoa, let me do kind of some self-reflection here in
Yeah.
this moment while I'm enjoying this show. Tell us a bit about how that is for you in terms of, the many roles that you've played as an actress, and how you're able to bring that to, these audiences as you guys are touring this show.
Yeah. Well, um, my family's from the South, from Mississippi. So, the Southern thing is right there, and, having dealt with, uh, racism all my life, really, in varying degrees, uh, depending on it, if I was South or if I was North, things were, uh, more hidden, more under the surface, in terms of racism, in the North. And to me, that's often, more dangerous than, uh, the racism being, um, up there and out front, but let me backtrack a little bit, for those who do know the book and the film. The wonderful thing about this live event and what writer Aaron Sorkin has done with Miss Harper Lee's script, uh, and fleshing it out. Like, for instance, my character Calpurnia, um, uh, you really get a fuller experience of her and her relationship with Atticus, uh, and a better idea of her place in this family, and basically as almost a surrogate to these kids, since their mother passed so young in their lives. Um, and in fleshing out the role of Calpurnia, uh, because she and Atticus, they're more like brother and sister. They're confidants. They can have conversations. They can disagree. Their relationship is that close. Um, in fleshing out this role of Calpurnia, she is often, because as liberal minded as Atticus is, he can't possibly know of the community and the world from the Black perspective, and Calpurnia is that voice. She would, you know, they're close enough for her to say, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but for us, the Black community is like this, and like, you understand what's happening from your point of view, but you don't understand it from our point of view. Here's our point of view. Here's what this means to us. And that, uh, that's really eye opening for Atticus, and and very key to his journey through dealing with, uh, the racism and the injustices as well. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and it's so, it's so front and center, honestly. And
yeah,
so I really appreciate the adaptation, as you're just describing it there, that it's different because, and so I was like, whoa, like some of these things that were being said, I'm like, all of this stuff is still existing to this day, right? As you
still
said
existing.
too. And so, it was really intriguing for me because I was there, sitting alone. We had other Converge Media correspondents that were also there. Shout out to Jay and Besa, my team. But I was sitting by myself. And so there was a part of me that was really absorbing it through the people that were sitting around me, which
Yeah.
I found to be like another layer of experiencing this play. And so it was very different for me. And I ran into one of the employees for the Paramount, and we were talking in the intermission. And she's like, how is this for you? And I didn't really know how to answer her yet. Right.
Mhm,
Like, I was
mhm,
like, like, this is settling with me, and I'm trying to figure out how to allow it to settle with me. And so
mhm.
there's so much there that packs a punch in terms of what we're experiencing to this very day, and particularly for someone like myself who is involved in community-based work to bring equitable solutions to a system that never had equity built into it, right? So
Yeah.
I see it from a very specific lens, and I just really appreciated your character to be able to make that distinction known to the audience as you were doing that for Atticus. But one of the things that I also found really interesting was the innocence of children, right? The idea
Yes.
that, hate is taught, right? And
Mhm.
that it's not something, you're not born to hate another race or another kind of people or whatever, a different culture, that it's really taught. And the ideas of how we can begin to really shift so much of the hateful thought that we experience in terms of the nexus of racism is
Yes.
really about how we raise the next generations, which
Yeah.
I saw with Scout and Jim and Dill, and just like
Mhm.
their outlook of what was going on in terms of, a black man being accused of raping this white woman, and
Mhm.
it's clear that he's innocent, but of course, like all of these elements that we've experienced in real life
Yeah. Yeah.
play out over history. It was just
Mhm.
also really beautiful to see that innocence of the children as a theme to this. Is that something that you all really understood to as cast in terms of playing that up for the audience to really be able to take that in?
Oh, yeah, yeah, that was yeah, yeah, that was well understood, well understood. The three actors, that play the kids, move through the story. I feel so beautifully, uh, with that innocence and the the learning and the observations that they have along the way. I mean, you know, for the time they have, a pretty phenomenal dad, who's been instilling in them, you know, uh, the goodness in people and trying to believe in the goodness of people, and um, uh, one of the many famous quotes from the book, the film, and the play is, you can never really know a person until you know, step inside their skin.
Hmm.
Again, we're getting back to just common um, uh, respect and trying to understand each other, basic stuff. Um, but yeah, that was very well understood, I think, by the
Well,
company.
I want to ask you about, clearly there's so many powerful moments for the audience, and I experienced them. But for you, in terms of this role in your pedigree of work, tell us a bit about the impact that this role has on you personally and as an actress. I'm a thespian myself, so I understand that there's things that we learn as we take on another character, a new character. Tell us about that for you, and like what you're taking away from playing Calpurnia.
Uh, I guess mostly, like I said, it's important. It's important work, and I am most of the time just feeling one grateful, to be uh, a part of the piece, part of the journey of sharing this story, because we do still desperately need this story, and we desperately uh, need more healing, and we desperately have a lot of work to still go. Uh, and it's sad, you know, to because I don't think anyone that isn't, you know, um, a teenager, you know, can sit in the theater with this thing and not think about how little progress we've made, you know. So it's very fulfilling for me to be part of this as Calpurnia's voice, uh, and hopefully helping us all nationwide, um, you know, that's, you know, that's the main thing I feel after every show.
Yeah, I can only imagine because you said it in terms of you know, thought provoking, and when you read the reviews of this novel, I mean that's really where it's at. You know, you have this protagonist in Atticus Finch that is, you know, a white man, right? And
Mhm.
how do others really see themselves in how he is viewing the world? So I mean, very thought provoking work, Miss Williams. I just so appreciate you taking time. And of course, I mean, there's so many different things that the audience can expect. But one thing I will say is y'all are on the money with it. I mean, every
Oh,
character is playing that character well. And as thought provoking as it is, it's also very entertaining. So just thank you for that. And you guys got to make sure you get to the Paramount, get your tickets now. The seats were packed last night, and I promise it was, I could hear the response of everyone around me. It was taking, you know, meaningful, very important to folks for them to
yeah.
be there, for them to experience this live. So thank you so much for your work, and thank you so much for taking time with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being there, and thank you for all that you do. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my